What's up, everybody? This is Podcast Gameoverse episode 177 for Thursday, April 25, 2024. I am Wasabi Ice Cream, joined as always by Rick. What's up?
What's up, everybody? I don't know if it was just me, but I did not hear the intro music at all.
Okay, I think it was just you. It was just you.
Okay then. My shit's fucked. These headphones are shitty.
No, it's not you. It was me that not sending it to you, is what it was. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine then. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Gameoverse podcast. I'm Rick. I'm here. You're here. We're all here. Talk about video games, man.
Yeah.
Let's start where you always start. Tell the people what you've been playing.
So a little studio named Moon Studios, known for such games as Ori and the Blind Forest and Ori and the Will of the Wisps, launched a new game in early access, and that game is called No Rest for the Wicked.
Yes. Now, I missed the stream, so tell me, what did you think?
Well, there's a lot of controversy. Not really.
About what? Okay.
So the game launched in early access. I think it's like $30 or $40 in early access right now. And there's problems. There's problems with the game. One being performance. I mean, here's the thing, is that I think a lot of people, I don't understand why people don't understand what early access is. Steam makes it blatantly clear that, hey, this is early access, it's unfinished, you're going to buy this game, and it's going to be unfinished and possibly fucking broken. And then people will go on the fucking Steam reviews and go, hey, this game is fucking broken. Like, no shit, asshole. It's an unfinished game that you purchased knowingly that it's unfinished. So
that's so obnoxious. Oh my god.
But it happens all the time, though. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
Like, Steam cannot make it any clearer that the game you're about to buy is unfinished, yet people still buy the unfinished fucking game. And yeah, I just don't understand when they complain about it being unfinished. So yes, it's unfinished. It runs like dog shit. There's a lot of features missing. It doesn't have rebindable controls. The mouse and keyboard sucks. But it's all stuff that as soon as they pushed it out, they're like, hey, the game's out and here's what we're working on. And the first fucking like 2 or 3 things is, yeah, the performance is bad, and yeah, we're gonna add rebindable controls and we're gonna improve mouse and keyboard shit. It was like the first things they said that they were working on. But everyone's like, oh, it's fucking, there's no controls, fucking sucks. So anyway, so that off top, it has those issues off top. That said, every day, it's been out like exactly a week now. Almost every day they've pushed out an update that's fixed things. That's the point. The point of early access is to get feedback on your game so that they can improve it and make sure that it's up to standard when they finally release a 1.0 version. So that's what they're doing. They're letting people play the game. And I was like, okay, hey, tell us what you think. And one of the biggest issues people have with the game is, okay, so they came out and was like, hey, we're gonna revolutionize the ARPG genre. This is it. And so typically when people hear the term ARPG, they think Diablo.
Yeah, that's what I would hear.
And that's it's very little of that, almost none of that. It is mostly a Souls game. So a lot of people are upset about how Soulsy it is. And there's a lot of mechanics here that admittedly don't work very well. For example, all of the drops are random All of them, every single one of them.
All of them. Ooh.
There's no guaranteed drops, especially at the beginning of the game, where you obtain your first weapon, and it could just be fucking random, and then you could be stuck with that weapon. You could just get unlucky and not get any other weapon drops. And all of the weapons are very different. So, like, my first weapon was like a magical staff, which has like a fireball attack. That's like its like focus move. It uses a meter to like launch a fireball, and then it's like melee attack is like a slow swing, right? Now you could be in a position where you just don't jive with that fucking weapon. Like maybe you want like a sword and board character, or you just want like daggers or something faster, or like maybe you want a bow or something. But there's no guaranteed weapon drops, so you could just be stuck in the beginning of the game with a shitty weapon that you can't do anything about. So that sucks.
That sucked. I mean, that's the first like, attempt at a game like this, so there's some leeway there. But yeah, that's annoying.
Yes, but I would say that there is there's a lot of Souls games, right? It almost comes off as someone trying to make a Souls game that's like never played one. They just like looked at it, and I mean it's a little harsh to say that, but there's a lot of stuff in here that when you think about it, okay, so there's a durability system, right? All of your equipment has durability, and when it hits zero durability, you can't equip it anymore. You can't use it anymore until you repair it. Now, again, beginning of the game, it tells you that this is happening. You get basic equipment. You get your first weapon, right? And every time you die, you lose durability. And then you like respawn, and you get to like do the Souls thing again. However, you cannot repair your shit until you get far enough in the beginning of the game to get to the blacksmith. There's a blacksmith you have to like rescue. And if you do not get to that point before all your shit breaks, you are fucked. Because all of your shit breaks and you just can't use it anymore. So again, everything's random. It's all random drops. So if you just get unlucky and you never get another weapon drop, you never get another armor drop, there's a thing called a repair powder, which I'll get into that later, but there's just all the drops are random, so you can just get unlucky, and if you're bad at the game, all of your shit breaks and you cannot repair it. So that is the biggest point of criticism that people have about the game right now, is the durability system, which people are just straight up saying remove the durability system, it's dog shit. Because yeah, you can almost soft lock the game, because once your shit breaks, you cannot use it until you repair it. And you cannot repair it in the beginning of the game. You can't repair anything until you get far enough to rescue the blacksmith. And that's potentially like, that could be like an hour's worth of play before you even get to the blacksmith. So that's
just that's unfortunately, wow.
Yeah. So, and I tested this. I was like, okay, because people were like, no, your durability doesn't even go down until you get to like the first boss. And it's not true. Your durability decreases right from the beginning of the fucking game. Like you can definitely break all your shit like right at the fucking beginning. And it used to be, so again, they've been updating the game constantly. So they've tweaked it a lot since then. That's how it was at launch. Now, they've taken a couple of my suggestions, which is there's an item called repair powder. It's a random drop, so you could potentially never find any. I never saw any. I didn't even know it existed until in the beginning when you die the first time. It's like, hey, you can use repair powder to repair your shit. But I've never seen any.
Yeah.
But one of my suggestions was, because everyone was like, remove durability. I was like, okay, what if you just increase the drop rate of repair powder? because everyone was like remove the shit, but not giving any actual fucking suggestions on how to
Yeah.
just work with the system. So I was like, hey, just increase the drop rate of repair powder, and they did that. They added that in the patch, so they increased the drop rate of repair powder, which is one of my suggestions. I feel like I'm responsible for that, so you're welcome.
You got your head here first.
Yeah. Um. And yeah, they did that, and I feel like that's a good change to make,
Yeah.
right? Instead of just
No, that sounds like
removing,
a good idea. Yeah.
because if you just remove the system, it's one of the core features of this thing. Because unlike the Souls games, when you die in this game, it doesn't really punish you in any other way. Like the enemies don't respawn, and you don't lose anything except for durability. That's the only thing that happens. Like whatever you're wearing decreases in durability, and you revive at a checkpoint. And then I guess whatever guy you were fighting, whatever guy that killed you, gets their health back, and that's it. No one respawns, which is great, and you don't lose any like experience or anything. So it's like it's way less punishing than a typical Souls games, because in those games everything respawns, and
Yeah.
you like lose your experience or your like currency. So like I think the durability is a good way to do that. It's just they just need to tweak it a little bit, just refine it around the edges, and it'll be totally fine. Um, Once you do unlock the blacksmith, what you do get to a point where you can repair your shit, then it just starts costing money. It just costs currency, and then so that's the other issue that people have, is that now you have to make this decision. Like if you are bad at the game, which this is going to lead us into the discussion topic, by the way.
Yeah.
So that's why this is a big topic. But once you do get to the point where you can repair your shit, then it costs currency, and then you get to the point where you're weighing, okay, do I buy upgrades for my equipment, or do I repair all my equipment? Do I buy restoration items? Which, by the way, it does the Demon Souls and Bloodborne thing of, you don't have the Estus flasks, right? You're like your healing is a consumable item. It's not like a restore a limited use item. So you could potentially go into a boss fight, use all your fucking restore items, use all your like repair shit, waste all your money, and then you're fucked. Then all your shit's broken. You don't have money. You don't have restore items. You don't have shit. So now what do you do? And then also the enemies don't respawn, and so you can't actually farm shit from them. So like that, now what do you do? And it was just like a lot of shit like that, where it's I feel like there's a lot of systems here that they might not have thought about thoroughly enough to where like they don't want to punish the player too much, but it actually does. Like if you're bad at the game, if you're legitimately bad at the game, you end up getting punished way more than
that's what it sounds like.
because now the way you look at it is, okay, if I'm gonna fight this boss, I don't know what he's gonna do. I'm just gonna get naked so that if I do die, I'm not losing durability. I'm not going to use any of my restorative items. I'm just going to run into this boss and just learn it, and just die a lot, and like not waste any of my resources, because if I waste all my shit, then I'm fucked, basically.
That's so weird. Like it's so much better to have it like on a cooldown, or like just have like a set item that restores when you like rest or something. Like that's so weird to like.
Yeah.
It's like it's a consumable, like limited item. You have to like, I assume you have to like buy it or like find it in drops. Like that's so obnoxious.
Yeah. There's
like Diablo figured this shit out. Like there's no more like health potions in Diablo. It's just on a cooldown. Like that's why. Because that shit's annoying.
Well, they are limited, but they reset when you die. Or like. And Diablo, like they're limited, but they reset when you have a set amount until you refill them.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that's what I'm saying. I feel like they've done this in Demon Souls and I guess Bloodborne. I don't know if like definitely the Souls games determine what they're gonna do based on the type of game that they're wanting to make, I guess. Because people say like, no, they've learned this throughout Demon Souls, or they learn not to do this. But I disagree. They'll do it. They did it in Bloodborne, and it was the same shit. And that was recent enough. So I'm like, no, they made 3 Souls games in between this. I feel like if they knew it was a bad thing to do, they just wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a game. So it has like that fixed isometric camera. So this was another issue that I raised on their forums, and they did something about it. I don't know if it's enough, but the problem is the camera it's fixed isometric, and you have no adjustment whatsoever with it. So the problem that arises is that there's a number of enemies, especially ranged enemies, that'll be out of the range of the camera view. Like you cannot see them in the camera, yet they can see you and they can attack you and they can damage you, even though they're not in the range of the camera. There is a stealth system in the game. You hit the stealth button, and the camera zooms in when you do this, giving you even limited visibility. So I was like,
so you can aggro enemies outside of your field of vision. That is.
Yeah.
And if you're stealthing, it lowers your field of vision even more.
Yeah.
That is.
So it makes the stealth almost completely useless. Oftentimes I completely forget it's there, and it's like they place enemies specifically for you to use stealth on. Like there'll be just an enemy like digging around the trash and his back is turned, and you're like, okay, they want me to stealth this guy. But it's the only time that stealth is useful is when they specifically put a guy there for you to stealth. There's never any time where it's like stealth is actually like a gameplay consideration, like a Metal Gear or something. You can literally, like, if you're good, you can run up on a guy and like stealth them consistently, no matter how they're placed in the map. But no, in this game, they'll fucking just. I mean, you have such low visibility that you don't even know what is out there before you get to it, and it's aggroed already. So, the stealth mechanic makes almost no sense to me.
That's obnoxious.
Like I said, there's a lot of systems here that kind of just don't make sense. It's almost like they just had an idea and they just like threw it in, but didn't really have the consideration of how it was going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Happy wants to give it a pass. It's like, well, it's early access. They're working on it, but to have like these fundamental systems like not working from the beginning is like a little concerning.
Yeah, it's like
I
how
understand
much
it's
of
early
this
access, but there should be like a playable.
it should have its core. Right? Its core should be solid. Like really, at this point, they should just be like bug fixing and just fine tuning the systems instead of being
maybe adding some extra content. Maybe like
the content is there's content there already. There's a lot of content here already. It's like 25 to 30 hours worth of like just straight content. But it's like a lot of the systems here just don't really make a lot of sense. It just really doesn't.
It sounds like a lot of parts just don't like jive with each other. So that's
there's a whole mechanic. So there's a whole realms mechanic. Realms is you can create a new realm. Okay, so when I said the enemies don't respawn, it's kind of a lie. Because they do respawn, but they don't respawn in the Soulsy way of when you die, everything respawns. They respawn in the way that as time passes, areas that you previously cleared will start spawning enemies again.
Okay.
As time passes. So that's how they incentivize you to kind of go back to areas that you already cleared, because any resources that you grabbed in those areas, then they'll respawn, so you can go back to those areas, gather resources again. But the enemies, and then enemies come back there, but they come back leveled to where you are now. At least in my experience, they come back stronger. They're not the enemies that used to be there. They're stronger enemies now. So it's almost like worse in a way that they come back, because now they're like stronger enemies, and now they're like gonna fuck you up now. It's like not, they're not like in a Souls way. In Souls, if you went back to a previous area, they were the same weak ass enemies that were there before. So you can kind of just, so if you needed to farm resources, you could just go back to, do the Bloodborne thing of just go back to fucking the first area, kill everything there, get a bunch of fucking blood vials, and it was easy. You just one hit everything and you just get whatever you need. But here, everything's fucking stronger now. It's like leveled to where you are. So it's like shitty, because now you're having a hard time as well, and you could potentially die again on fucking just normal mobs.
Does the XP like scale with you? Like, are those normal mobs like worth more XP?
The XP scales, but it's, I don't know. I don't. I'm not sure if I like it, because you can still, like, you're going to be wasting resources again because everything's harder. So if you're bad at the game, you're going to be taking damage and then using items to restore that damage. If you die, all your durability is going to go down. Then you got to buy stuff and upgrade your shit or repair your shit, and it's just, you get caught in this loop on old enemies now in areas that you've already cleared, that where they should just be just easier enemies.
Not just that, but like, there's a lot of talk about like revolutionizing the RPG genre.
Yeah.
Diablo figured this out by having you manually turn up the difficulty once you hit a certain level.
Yeah.
It doesn't just force you like, oh hey, like time's passed, like enemies are stronger now, like deal with it.
Yeah.
It's like, no, like you hit level like 60, cool, you can turn the torment level up.
Yeah, so that's how this game works. And so there's a system in the game called realms. I had to preface all of that to introduce the realms system, because it's a system in the game that doesn't explain itself at all, but it's the solution to all of the problems. Every problem I just listed, not everyone, but in terms of the difficulty, the realms is the solution. Because what you can do is, you can create a new realm, and what that does is it creates a new map, basically, or it's like a new game plus almost. It creates a new game plus world that you can then take that level X character, you can take that character to a new world where everything resets, basically. So everything is back at level 1, but your character is still where they are and has what they have, and you can take that character into a new world. So now everything's weaker, everything is where it would be at level 1, but you have everything you had when you were, it's like new game plus, you have everything you had, and you can do that at any point whenever you want. But it doesn't fucking tell you that. It never explains that at all. Like, no one knows that this is a thing, but it's literally a solution to everything. Like, if you're having a hard time, if you're just hitting a point where you just can't progress, you can just make a new realm, reset everything back to level 1, but you are still level whatever you are. You still are what you had, and then you can just do it that way, and then progress that way. And that, I think that is the intended way to do it. I think they don't explain it at all, so I'm just making assumptions here that that's the intended strat. Is just make a new realm.
Interesting.
Everything starts over, and then you can just, everything's easier again.
Sorry, my son's like talking to me. What do you want, bud? I can't understand you, man. You ever played Max Payne? Max Payne 3, and the dude's like talking to him in Portuguese, and he's like, "Don't you get it now that I don't understand your fucking language?" I feel like that.
But yeah, so
keep going.
they've been updating the game every day since it came out. So, and I've been looking at the patch notes, and then yeah, every time they implement something I suggested, I'm like, okay, they're listening to the fans. They're listening to people. Maybe not the idiots who are like, just remove durability. Like, it's not that. It is a core gameplay mechanic. That durability system is a core gameplay mechanic. They can't just straight up remove it. I don't know if people understand how shit works, but you cannot just straight up remove that mechanic. So that'll actually lead me into the discussion topic, but you should talk about what you played, because there's more to this that I want to get to.
I haven't played too much. I played Fallout 4 a lot. Now that's I've been kind of obsessed with it for a little bit.
Dude, everyone's playing Fallout now.
Yeah, dude.
It's kind of crazy that just the game can do that to the show. I don't imagine it's like a lot of new people. I feel like it's mostly people who are like, oh, I should go back and play. Like, people who've played them already are going back mostly.
Well, the thing is that with Fallout, Fallout 4 has been out for like 9 years. So
yeah,
there's not a lot of like people who haven't played it, I think.
Yeah.
I'm sure like some people went out like, oh, I'll check this Fallout game out because I like the show. I'm sure there's a couple people that did that. But it's not like Cyberpunk, right? Where Cyberpunk had just come out like a year before the anime did. So a bunch of people are like, oh, I'm going to buy the game now because the anime was so good.
Yeah, but it was also because like that game was fucked. So when they finally fixed it, they were like, I should go back and play it now that it's fixed.
Yeah, and again, like it was like less than a year. I think the game had been out for like less than a year or like a year before the anime.
Yeah.
So that sparked a lot of interest for it. Fallout 4 has been out for like 9 years. So a lot of people I think are going back to it. A buddy of mine was telling me he just got back into it, and he lost his physical copy. That's how old this game is. Like, physical copies are still like in vogue. He lost his physical copy when he moved, but he was like, "Oh, thank God, it's on like PlayStation, so I can just like download it and play it." So, but yeah, I've been playing it like a madman. I have 2 different like characters going right now, like 2 different builds going. I have one like low intelligence, high strength build that just focuses on heavy weapons and melee weapons. Another one that's like high intelligence with like high perception, so I'm focusing on like rifles and like long range weapons.
Okay, hold on.
And it's
hold on. Explain yourself, because is that game actually deep enough to play it like that?
It's fun to play it like that.
Does it actually matter?
On like one build. How you handle situations definitely can matter. Like, there are some parts that I'm like, oh, this build was like really dumb because like all these enemies have like heavy weapons, or one of them has like a rocket launcher. So by the time I get close to hit them with my hammer, I'm getting like blown up. It's not nearly as deep as like something like Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
But there is some difference to playing it like that.
Yeah, because
like, for example, a low intelligence character, I don't have a lot of like points and I don't have a lot of points in intelligence, so I don't have a lot of points in like science, so I can't build things like high power generators or like high power water filters. So one strategy I usually use when I play the game is I dump a lot of my points in intelligence and science. That way I can build like these high generating like water purifiers and power generators. Yeah. And I bank all that purified water and sell it to help me like fund my game. I can't do that with a low intelligence character.
Okay, yeah, that's if you're playing on survival, I could see that. But
I
I feel
refuse to
like
play that game on survival. Survival on its own is just such a stupid. It's such a cool idea, but there's so many things that make it so frustrating. Like the total lack of fast travel. Fuck that. That is
you should
fucking
mod the
frustrating.
game. Just mod the game.
I'm thinking about it because honestly, my only complaint is like survival mode would be a lot of fun if it let me fast travel between my settlements. Like if I establish a settlement, establish a supply line, it should let me fast travel there.
Yeah, there's just get a mod that does it.
Yeah, I think I will because like that's like that would be fun. Like I'm playing Dragon's Dogma too. Like there's no fast travel there, but I can pick a cart to like take me somewhere. The only caveat is like I could sit there and wait and watch it out in real time, or I can skip through it. But that time does like pass. Those resources that time does pass. So any time related quests, like I can fail if I'm not careful. Do the same thing with Fallout. Like let me do that. Let time pass. So like if I don't have the food or water to back it up, my character's in a worse spot when he gets to where he's trying to go. Like let me do
Yeah,
that.
yeah. But yeah, that was my thing with Fallout. Is just it had all these systems, but none of them really had impact. Like you could make a dumb character, or that was like a barbarian that was like melee based, but it was really just based on what weapon you had. If you had like Grognak's sword or something that had all the enchantments on it, you could just use that with any character literally, and it would be fine. Or like if you found a crazy gun, you could just use that on any character, and it'd be fine.
Yeah, it's more effective to have like the points invested because like there's some stuff it does that's pretty helpful, but it's not. Sorry, it's not like near enough to make a difference. Like I
That's
looked at
why
the melee skill tree.
the
Oh,
crafting
sorry.
shit the crafting shit makes sense, because that's all like that all is like stat based. Like it blocks you from like making like weapon upgrades or shit like that, but that's all like superficial shit that really doesn't. You could just find good weapons. You could find like a lot of shit. If you just explore, you can kind of get around. Or like it never forces you to do any of that, which it should, but it never really does.
Not just that, but like the investing points and stuff doesn't make a huge difference early on. Like
Yeah,
level one for like any sort of like weapon, if you want to specialize in a weapon, it's like a 20% damage boost, which is nice. But then the next level after that's like a 50% boost. And after that, it's like a 60 to 80% boost plus like another little thing. So for like rifle weapons, like single fire rifle weapons, not automatic weapons, on top of a damage boost, by that third rank, you also get like, ignore 15% armor. And for melee weapons, it's like, like 30% chance to disarm enemies, which is cool to have, but it's not like a huge difference.
yeah.
Again, not like Cyberpunk, where like, if I specialize in a katana, like that katana is going to do some cool shit that is exclusive to like that skill tree. And I wish like it's hard to like say like I wish Fallout did something like this game that came out 9 years later did, but like it's interesting to me that like I'm playing through it and I'm like it's really funny like how like in how can I word it, how little a difference like a lot of these really make. It's not like Fallout 3 or like New Vegas where like your build is your build, like that is like your character specializes in this thing, the game gives you resources to do that thing and be successful for that thing.
especially in New Vegas, because
Yeah.
all of that shit ties into the dialogue system, where if you did like specialize in explosives or something, which doesn't have a lot of gameplay uses, but it has a lot of dialogue uses. Like you can there's a lot of conversation options that utilizes a lot of that shit that might not get utilized a lot in actual gameplay. And like that's fucking awesome. But Fallout 4's dialogue system is dog shit and it doesn't do any of that. So
No, it doesn't. Which is one thing I noticed. I'm like, oh, there's like nothing here that really makes a difference. Like,
Yeah.
and it's it's kind of bare bones, but the world is still really cool. Like the side characters are still really cool. Like it's still a fun game to play through. I'll argue like Cyberpunk does a lot of what Fallout's trying to do, but better.
Yeah.
But Fallout has its like its own distinct world, its own distinct art style. The settlement stuff could have been much cooler if they like baked it a little bit longer. Um, but yeah, hopefully,
Yeah.
whenever we get Fallout 5, like some of the stuff gets taken into account.
I shit on Fallout 4 a lot, but it is a fun game. Like I said, I was talking to Uncle Dolph in the chat, but I was talking to him earlier, and I was like, no, like what I want out of this game, if they remove the story and just I could just explore and just loot and fucking kill shit, I would just
Sounds like you
do
want
that.
Fallout 76. Sounds like you want Fallout
Well,
76.
no, Fallout 76 is it does that, but then it forces survival mode on you, and then it does like all this other shit that's just not like Fallout 76 is good at that. Like I give them credit where it's deserved. All right, like they make great exploration games that you just want to explore, delve into dungeons and like kill shit. Like they're Fallout 4 and 76 are great for that, especially 76 because the world they built in that game is just great. Like no one really talks about that part of that game, but the world and exploring it is just great. But it's just they're bad at everything else. They're bad at attaching a story to this and attaching characters to this and attaching dialogue to this and like RPG mechanics to it as well. And that's the stuff that I feel like could tie everything together in a much better way, but it's not the stuff. They gave this game a 9.5 from IGN. And the only con they had was bugs.
I'll argue at the time it came out, it was probably like a 9 out of 10. Now it's like a 6 out of 10.
Yeah. A lot of games have caught up to the thing that Bethesda does that you say like you hope Fallout 5 will do. Like I have no hope anymore. Like Starfield was that hope. I was a guy that was like, well, no, they've learned, they've fucked up like so many times now that Starfield has to be the game. They cannot fuck up anymore. And then like they fucked up. And now I just have no hope. I have no hope for them now. Now I'm the guy that's like, nope, they'll never make a game that's that's gonna do it all, man. They'll never do
Yeah. Yeah, that's something. I was the same boat. I was so excited for Starfield that when it came out, I was like, "This is oh, you can't get away with this anymore." Like
it.
what
Yeah,
they
yeah.
were doing with Starfield, man. I could talk all day about like how frustrating, disappointing Starfield was, but I'm not going to. Um, that's why I can hope they're gonna figure this stuff out for Fallout 5, but let me give you an idea.
Because
I
that's
pre-ordered Fallout 4 when it got announced. I am not going to be pre-ordering Fallout 5. Like,
because Starfield was almost like Fallout 4.5. You know, it was like Fallout 4.9 or something. But it ended
I'll
up being
argue
like
it's Fallout 4, like 0.01. It's like a beta Fallout 4.
yeah,
Let's
yeah,
be
yeah.
honest here.
I
The
mean,
shit that was in Fallout 4 that I liked, they took out of Starfield for some
yeah,
fucking
yeah.
reason.
There's a lot of shit in Fallout that's missing in Starfield. Like you can't disassemble weapons. You know, you can't take mods off a weapon and then put it on a different weapon. You can't. All of the junk items are not usable anymore. And it's like, guys, you figured this out in Fallout 4. I don't know how you went backwards in Starfield. Like that's the kind of shit I'm talking about, man. I just don't. I don't know if they know what makes their games good. It's like that kind of shit.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Like, they just don't know what makes their games good. They don't know what to focus on. And a lot of their stuff is like sizzle too. Like they talk about like, oh look how big Starfield is, like how wide and expansive Starfield is, even though the game has like zero depth at all
Yeah,
to like its real world.
yeah,
I will argue a game like Cyberpunk, which has like a quarter, I say quote unquote, of like the actual locations and surface area to the game, but it has much more rewarding and dynamic experiences because of that. Like it's a smaller game, but they can focus on much more of it, and because of that, you get more memorable situations. Where Starfield, it's like, oh, what randomly generated thing are we gonna like put you through now? You know, it's there's a lot to it that I fucking hate, dude. And it was sucks because I was super into it at the beginning until like I started to see like behind the curtain, right? Like I started to see like how a lot of the stuff was working, how the game was operating, and I was like, oh man, everything is just so. Again, it's all sizzle, man. It's all sizzle. There's no steak to that game. It's all sizzle.
Yeah.
And it sucks. There's some things I legitimately liked about it. There were some cool quests in there. The lore was legitimately super interesting. Like I was really into it, but the game does nothing to like help facilitate that, and it drives me crazy, dude. It could have been a great game, but it's a 6 out of 10. It's one of the most ambitious 6 out of 10s. Not even ambitious. Like, they didn't fucking do anything new. Like,
yeah, ambitious.
I can't even argue. Well, like it didn't work, but at least they tried. No, they didn't try anything new. Like, yeah, never mind. Fuck that game.
But yeah, I don't know. The Fallout games are just fun to just run around and fuck with shit. But yeah, I don't know. Just you got to mod the game. I feel like if you just play the game vanilla and then everything you don't like about it, just write it down, and then go on Nexus Mods and just look for something that fixes the specific issues you have with it, and you'll almost certainly find something that fixes the exact issue you have with the game. Actually, like I think a lot of people are doing that because the Nexus Mods website was down. They were having issues because they were getting so much traffic that the site was down for a while. So yeah, a lot of people are going back to these Fallout games, which yeah, they're pushing out that the big current gen update is coming out soon. So
yeah, I think
if it's
it
not
came
already,
out.
yeah,
It's supposed to come out 9 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, so I think it's out already.
Okay.
I might be wrong though.
Uncle Dolph said, I hope it breaks people's minds. It will, but not like
It will.
only the script extender mods are gonna break, which is a significant portion, but it's not gonna break.
I don't know if you heard. Hold on, bud. I'm coming back. Damn. I don't know if you heard, but Fallout London, like I guess the devs were a little upset about that because like
Oh yeah.
I guess I think they come out and said like, oh yeah, that next gen update's gonna like fuck our mod up.
Yeah. But at least they didn't release yet. At least they have time to like fix it before they actually release instead of
I was reading somewhere they might release it today.
Oh really?
Because like just to get their build out and then work on like the next gen update after that. I don't know though. I didn't really look too much into it. But what's crazy is that a lot of people are upset about it, but it's like, well, what are you expecting? Like, this is a mod. It's not like a licensed Bethesda thing. Like,
yeah.
Does it suck? Yeah, it does suck for those mods and those modders, but you know, that's the gamble you take with like unlicensed mods and stuff. Like that's the gamble you take.
Yeah, but Bethesda again is the same thing with like Starfield. You would have figured this has been an issue with Bethesda's games for a very long time now. You would hope that like even with Starfield, they would have figured out a way, or at least work with modders to ensure that shit doesn't break when they update, or like you would hope they figure this shit the fuck out, and they just don't. They just refuse, or either can't, or something. But at least I don't know. It's just been a problem for so long that it's becoming an unacceptable thing. You know.
It's just Bethesda doesn't care. Well, let's just be honest here. They don't care. Like,
yeah,
people are still gonna buy their games. Actually, it might not be the case. I think Starfield sell as well as they'd expected, even
No, I
with like
think it
the
did.
backing from Game Pass. It did.
I think it
Oh,
did.
never mind. It's
Yeah.
fucking me.
I think it did even with the Game Pass. Yeah, despite it being on Game Pass, it still sold very fucking well. I think was the thing. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll see then. When Fallout 5 inevitably does come out or get announced, like we'll see. I'm not going to pre-order it. I'm not going to get excited for it. We'll see when it comes out. Well, it's going to be on Game Pass, isn't it? Like, so I don't have to like buy it, but
Which one? Oh, Fallout 5.
whatever Bethesda puts out.
Well, the next game's
For the
gonna be Elder
foreseeable future.
Scrolls.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. But
Which,
that's
like,
the thing.
it's
They
fine.
should
I was always a Fallout. I like Fallout more than Elder Scrolls, but whatever.
they should allow other studios to make more of games. You know, they did the thing. They did New Vegas with Obsidian, and look how the
Yeah.
fuck that turned out incredibly well.
Yeah.
They should just do that. They should just do that with all their shit.
I mean, now that Microsoft owns Obsidian, like they could do it. Like it wouldn't even be that big of a deal, right? Like
Yeah, but like Obsidian's doing their own shit now. I don't even know if they have time.
Yeah.
But they have other studios that could do, you know, like
They
give me
do.
like a Machine Games give me a Machine Games Fallout, you know what I'm saying? Like give me like a an id Software Fallout would be fucking incredible. Like that would be fucking crazy. Like it's
Yeah,
just not
that'd be
even an
pretty
RPG
cool.
anymore. Just give me a straight up Doom Fallout game.
you
Like,
could do
kidding
it. Reboot the Brotherhood of Steel game, but with
me?
like
Yeah.
Machine Games or id working on it.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty dope. Yeah, they can make it work.
But like that's I wish they would explore more of that with instead of this Bethesda just fucking it up every time. We'll just explore different genres, you know, make like a tactical, you know, like have the Wasteland guys make a fucking Fallout game again. That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome.
Oh, that would be really cool. The Wasteland guys are the original. A lot of those guys are the original devs for Fallout, right? Like that's the whole thing.
I think so. I think so. So it'd be interesting if they just made different shit.
Yeah, Fallout as a franchise, like, has potential to just do all kinds of cool shit, but we'll see. I mean, maybe it'll happen. Probably not, but maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
Yep, next game I played was Persona 4 Golden. Talked about it last week. Everything I
Yeah.
said is still the same. Nothing's changed. Incredible game.
I need to go back to it.
It's a good-ass game, dude. It's a good-ass game. I bought Persona 4 Golden around the same time I bought Persona 5 Royal for my Switch. And I've invested like 40 hours in Golden, maybe like an hour on Royal.
I put so much time in that Vita version that it's just hard for me to do it all again.
That's what I thought, but it was so long ago, the last time I played it, like, it wasn't a problem. I played through that game, start to finish on the Vita, like 2.5 times.
Shit.
Like, I beat it, immediately started it over. After I beat it again, I started it over again, and got like halfway through it before I burned myself out. I didn't even burn myself out. Like I got into the SMT games, and I got into Persona 3, and I started going through like SMT's like back catalog, and like, yeah. So I didn't even burn myself out of it, really. But no, Persona 4 Golden is incredible. It's like one of my favorite RPGs. It's a great game, great combat system, fantastic cast of characters. I love the social link system and how socializing and getting along with your friends like influences the game itself. Like that's really cool. I love seeing stuff like that. Great game. Great game. It's got a perfect feedback loop of like story to gameplay, like working off of each other. It's fantastic. I wish more games did stuff like that.
Yeah.
I will argue Mass Effect would be a better game if it has a social link system. Like literally any RPG could like benefit from a social link system. Yeah, that's all I played really. Nothing new. You had an interesting topic here that you want to discuss.
Yeah.
And it's a topic that's come up like quite a bit in the gaming space, but specifically it was should games have an easy mode? Should all games have an easy mode?
Yeah. Now,
Yeah,
I've this is something I've been thinking about for at least a week since I've been playing No Rest for the Wicked, and it is a game that punishes you for being bad in a way that other games kind of don't. Even Souls games, like you're bad, even if you're bad at it, it doesn't punish you for being bad. So I mean,
it can be punishing, like having to go through like a lot of content again to get back to where you were. That could be punishing, yeah.
But No Rest for the Wicked has the added punishment of all your shit's broken, you've wasted all your resources, and you're fucked, basically. It gets harder the worse you do, because now you have no armor, and now you have your weapon's broken. Now you don't have a weapon. Now you don't have healing items. Yeah. So yeah, I talked to Uncle Dolph about this a couple days ago. And okay, so I've had the benefit of having thought about this for days now, and I think I've solidified my position on this. So I just want to hear where your stance is first, and then I'll have a rebuttal for that, because
gaming. It's a topic I've gone back and forth on. Gaming itself is such a specific medium that difficulty is something you only exclusively need to worry about, like in gaming. Like you don't read to steal this from a comedian whose name I don't remember, but to steal from him, you don't read a book, get a chapter in the books, like what were the themes of that last chapter before you can continue, right?
Yeah.
Same with a movie. Like movies don't quiz you like halfway through to let you finish it. Like any other piece of art, which you could argue video games are art or not, doesn't have these like barriers where it relies on the person consuming it to have some sort of proficiency to enjoy it. I could listen to music and not be a musician. I could watch a movie and not be a director or an actor, but you can't play a game without having some sort of grasp on like what it means to play a game, like what the language of games looks like.
Yeah.
It's something that's exclusively to this. And you could argue, like, we'll just make all games easy, everyone can enjoy it, but every game has its own specific way of playing, right? Like, people argue, it takes away from the point of Dark Souls if you put an easy mode on Dark Souls. Because the point of the game is to, like, overcome adversity, overcome difficulty, and learn from it. And it's the same thing with like fighting games. Like you could argue like you just push a button and win. That takes away from like learning a fighting game. So it's something that I've gone back and forth on for like ever. I think games should definitely have more accessibility options so that way you can like enjoy it. But I don't know, man. I don't think every game should have an easy mode if that's not what the developer intended. But that's me.
Okay.
Because like one of my favorite games was like Salt and Sanctuary too, and that's like a Souls-like. It's like a 2D Souls-like. And if that game was easier, I would enjoy the game a lot less. Like the game encouraged me to like learn its mechanics, learn its systems, develop a build that worked for me. So now it's one of my favorite games. The game's easy to me now because I know how it works, but that's part of the experience, it's part of the journey. Like the game has me learn that stuff. And that's part of it. If the game had been easier and I can just like do whatever, make all these mistakes, get all this stuff wrong, and still come out on top in the end, something would have been lost in my experience of the game. Yeah, but again, like you have someone who like physically just cannot do that for whatever reason, It could be like a disability issue, or it could just be, you're an adult with like responsibilities. You don't have the time to like to deal with that. Like, I don't know. That's something I go back and forth on a lot. I don't think every game by default should have an easy mode, but I understand the perspective of the people who do want that. I don't know. Sorry to like talk a lot and just be like, I don't have an answer. But
No, that's good. That's good.
yeah.
Yeah. So my stance is there's no good reason. There's no good reason for games to not have difficulty options.
Yeah.
Not that I'm saying every game should have difficulty options. I'm saying there's no good reason not to. There's reasons not to, but I don't think they're good reasons.
Now, let's argue this really quick on that point.
Yeah.
What does a difficulty option like look like? Is it a physical like
That's a good question.
easy, medium, hard in the title selection, or something simple like Pokemon? A lot of people argue that the first Pokemon has a hidden difficulty selection. It's Pokemon you start with. Like if you start with a water type, right? Your first two gyms are like a rock type and a water type. So at that point, it's kind of like normal difficulty. You're not strong against them, but you're not weak against them either. If you start with a fire type, those first two gyms are gonna fuck you. You're weak to rock, you're weak to water. Those first two gyms are gonna be really hard.
Yeah.
If you start with a grass type, that's almost easy mode. Like grass is strong against rock, grass strong against water. Like that's easy mode right there. The game doesn't tell you that. And you could argue like that's not what the game's gonna do. Like people are gonna pick the Pokemon they think looks cool, and if they don't like if they think the game's too hard, when they choose Charmander, they're probably not gonna start the game over again and pick Bulbasaur. But
I would say okay. I would say, okay. Your question was, should it have like an easy, medium, hard? I guess that's one way to do it, but there's issues with that as well, because what's easy, medium, or hard for one person is going to be a different level for someone else. So you're really they're just like arbitrary values. Like, I mean, at the bare minimum that you could do that, but I feel like at the end of the day, that's all arbitrary values anyway. All it's going to do is just you take less damage and you deal more damage depending on whatever difficulty you
exactly.
pick. So,
and what is it you're having problems with too? Is it due to the difficulty of the game, just enemy combat encounters are too hard? Or is it that puzzles are too hard? Is it that you're not jiving with the systems? Like, what is it that makes the game hard? And at that point too, like, at what point do you just decide this game's not for me? Like, I'm not going to play Tetris and be like, oh, matching up colors and blocks is too hard for me. Like, at that point, like, okay, so when you decide Tetris maybe isn't for you, right?
Well, that's the thing. I don't think. Okay, wait, hold on. Let's go back to like the Pokemon example, because I think I think the Pokemon thing is a little different, because the assumption in Pokemon is that you're going to be catching more Pokemon. So you might pick a starter, and that starter might not be, it might be the starter, like you don't know what the first gym is going to be, so that starter might be not optimized for like the first gym, but the assumption is you're going to catch other Pokemon that might be more optimized than whatever starter you picked. So I feel like that's a little different, but
well, that's what I mean though. Like, the game's going to give you like a noticeable head start, and you could argue like that head start could like lay the foundation where the rest of your game's going to go.
yeah.
Like, another example that's probably better fit for this is Dark Souls again. Like, the game doesn't have a select difficulty slider, right?
Yeah.
But you do have, like, in its own cryptic way, it does have a difficulty options. Like, it gives you, like, items to start with, like, classes to start with. You can choose, like, a class that has, like, no benefits, no perks, and that's hard mode.
Yeah, like, but I would say in those games, like, you start with nothing, but you kind of know. Like I wouldn't go so far to say it's hard mode, because the game balance still doesn't change. It's just you making a decision that, like, it giving you a choice of something, but at the end of the day, the game ultimately is still balanced in one way. You know, like Pokemon will give you a
could argue that.
choice, but the game is still balanced with these specific numbers, and this will never change. Like so you're like the Tetris example. I feel like, yeah, you could it could be like the game is too difficult, and then you can be like, okay, this game's not for me. But my argument is that the difficulty shouldn't be the barrier. The difficulty shouldn't be the barrier by which a game is not for you, because there would be so many other things that could be the barrier, that I feel like a difficulty is one to just to easily solve. Like the difficulty barrier is an easily solvable one, which is just add an option, just makes it fucking easier. And then
Now again, like, what does that look like? Let's go back to Tetris, for example. Let's say someone says Tetris is too hard for whatever reason, right? Tetris is too hard for me.
yeah, there could be an option in
like,
Tetris that makes that it's like a slower. Maybe it makes the game slower, so you have more time to make decisions. Like it would look different for every game, but the option ultimately has the option is going to have the same effect, which is to make things easier. So I think Celeste has the same thing, where it, like, you can make the game run slower, so you have more reaction time to do whatever you need to do. I think Forza has something similar. So what I'm proposing is not an easy mode. It's more so accessibility options, that for difficulty focused accessibility options. So that could take form in a variety of different ways, but ultimately the effect is the same. It just makes things easier for people. And
that makes sense.
And it's just an option. You know, it's not something that's enabled by default. It's just you go into the options and go, hey, I'm going to turn this on. Yeah, because so I've watched Some Ordinary Gamers had a video on this like 2 years ago. I guess it was when Elden Ring came out. People had this discussion came up again, and some of the reasons against, I feel like, were dumb fucking reasons. I feel like there were stupid fucking reasons. And one of the most common ones was, well, it's the developer's intention that that this is the way the game should be played. Like, it's the developer's intent that this is the difficulty. I feel like that is a bullshit reason. I feel like that's such bullshit, because you wouldn't use that defense in any other scenario. You would never use that defense if the developers
I would argue
intended
against that. I'll continue.
If the developers intended that you have to play the game with like your hands behind your back, and they had this device that I don't know, if the developers intended, here's the example I used when I was talking about this with Uncle Dolph, was that if they intended, say it was Starfield, and Starfield came out with no FOV slider, and and everyone complained about it. But what if they came out and was like, no, we intended this game to be played with 70 FOV, so deal with it. No one would come out and be like, well, the developers intended it played BF. No, they would be like, no, fuck you, add an FOV slider. This is bullshit. Like, you would never defend it in any other case. But when it comes to the difficulty, people are like, no, they intended this to fuck you in the ass with the difficulty.
So I'll argue that's a little different, because you could argue the same thing. There's other mediums that do the same thing, right? Like I'm trying to think of like an example here. Let's say you watch like a movie, right? And the intention is that the movie's supposed to be this, like, let's say something like Memento, right? It's supposed to be this kind of confusing, like jarring experience for like most of the movie. It's kind of told out of chronological order. You have to piece things together as you go along. There's a review at the end, but would you argue, like, I don't like this movie, I don't like the way the story's told? Would you argue that, well, that's the director's intention, is for it to be this, like, kind of confusing modeling experience until the end? Would you argue, like, that argument works there? Like, that's where it gets tricky, because what is acceptable as the artist's intention and what isn't is so arbitrary, and it can change from person to person.
No, I would argue it is acceptable for developers to have intentions. It is acceptable to have that, but I don't think the difficulty. I don't think, and yeah, they can intend the difficulty to be that, right? That could be the intention, and it's totally fine. I don't have a problem with using that argument, but that argument is only used when it comes to like the difficulty. Like but the difficulty I feel like you can easily solve this. Like this does not have to be a problem because you just add an option in there that's like, because it wouldn't ruin the game because it's optional. Like if they added walkie talkies to ET, I'd be like, okay, you don't have to watch that version of the movie, or you know, or if someone wanted to watch that version, well, then they can just watch that version.
For those who don't know what he's talking about, E.T. got into some trouble because when the movie got re-released, they took out shotguns the police are carrying and replaced them with walkie-talkies. So that's where that's coming from.
Yeah.
As we didn't know.
Yeah. Like I feel like, yeah, if Memento is shot in a specific way, but if they put out a new version that was like, oh yeah, here's everything in fucking order, people can come out and be like, no, this is bullshit. The original is like the way it's supposed to be. But if someone wanted to watch that shit in order, you could be like, okay, yeah, they can watch that in order if they put that version out, or like I don't really have the issue with that.
I see what you mean. It's like just because just because it's an option doesn't mean like the intention's not there anymore.
Yeah. It's just for people who are like, I just want to, because like, why? I mean, I don't want to go into like developers' intent. You're like, they could intend for shit to be a certain way, and you can be like, this is bullshit, and like that's fine. But if you like lack the resources to do anything about it, I feel like an otherwise enjoyable thing. Because there's things to enjoy there's legitimate reasons to play Elden Ring beyond the difficulty. Like there's reasons to enjoy, like the world is incredible. Like there's reason to experience that game that you just won't be able to do if it's like the difficulty is the barrier. And I feel like the difficulty doesn't need to be the barrier. There's an easy way, especially in video games. Like it's different for a movie because a movie that is the experience, but I don't know if the difficulty is the experience. But again,
the closest I can understand the difficulty is, like I said, like the example Memento, like, well, Pulp Fiction is probably like a better example when we watch Pulp Fiction. Like that movie's specifically told out of chronological order. So it forces you to like take some ownership as the viewer and like pay attention to see when things are happening. If you take it at like, oh, things are happening in front of me as they occur chronologically, like you're gonna get fucking lost. Like it's up to you to kind of piece that together. And it's not difficult, but I'm sure there's some people who complained like Pulp Fiction's fucking bullshit. They just told the movie in order. Like,
yeah,
I'm sure there's people like that exist. And you could argue like doing that like defeats a part of the movie because part of the movie is like that mystery of like what's going on and like when things happen and piecing that together and putting the timeline in your head. Like it's part of the fun of the movie.
Yeah.
That's like the closest example I can give because like literally no other medium like puts so much on you to like, you know, enjoy it. You know what I mean? Like no other medium has like this issue of like, you know, a game being hard, a game being difficult, isn't the same as like a movie or a book or a comic or something being difficult. At least
Yeah.
it looks different. So even this comparison I'm making is kind of bullshit because there's no one-to-one comparison. And I'll argue like this argument I made is kind of a bullshit argument because there's really no other one-to-one comparison for video games.
Yeah.
But I see what you mean though. Like,
And for like
it's
a
weird to
video
me to
game,
think.
for a
Yeah,
video game, I feel like you could just use, you can add an option in there that makes things easier because you could turn it on or off at your own will, right?
yeah,
Or like say, let's just put an example like Elden Ring, say there was just an option that just gave you a 10% increase in the damage you do and a 10% increase or decrease in damage you take. So it just puts a 10% offset to all the numbers. And you could just enable that and disable it at will, right? The thing about that is that you have complete control over that. So if you think it's like too easy, at some point you can just turn it off and be like, okay, now I'm ready for like the actual challenge, or like you can use it as like training wheels while you're still getting used to everything. So maybe at some point you needed it, but now you've gotten better and you're like, oh, I don't need this anymore. Like Gran Turismo does this perfectly, where that game has assists. Fucking Gran Turismo is like a hardcore racing sim, it's a difficult fucking game. But even that game has assistance in it. Now you'll get fucking clowned for using the assist, but that's not the point. The point is to
yeah,
turn those things on with the goal of eventually turning them all off by the time you get to like pro status, right? And that's the
yeah,
thing. Like you can use them as training wheels, and then while you're getting good, you're turning them off slowly and surely. You're seeing this progress that you're making, and you're getting better and better at the game, and eventually you turn off all the assists, and there you go. Like that's your like. But you've made that decision though. Like it's not the game telling you you have to play it this way. Fuck you. It's like, I think I need some like steering assist, or I need the
yeah,
braking assist, and then you getting good, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna turn these off slowly at your own pace.
yeah. And that's yeah. It's something to go back and forth on a lot. Like, I'll argue there's not a lot of arguments like not to include an option there. Um, but again, at some point, like when does this option like how far does it go before you decide the game is not for you? Like again, back to like the Tetris example. Like I don't like Tetris is too hard. Okay, what's hard about it? Oh, I don't like how fast the pieces move. And then, or let's say Guitar Hero is another example. Like I don't like how fast the notes move. And then you realize like, well, maybe Guitar Hero is just not for me. Maybe it's just not the difficulty. But I guess I'll argue like it's up to the person, the individual, to decide that too. Like have these options there. If there's just one thing you don't like about the game that makes it difficult, give me an option to like make it easier. And if it's still I can't drive with the game, at that point it's up to me to decide that.
Yeah, like I
Yeah.
feel like, yeah, I mean, even Guitar Hero has like difficulty options for like
Yeah.
Tetris. I feel like Tetris has like it has a dynamic difficulty in that, it starts off easy, and then like as you clear lines it levels up.
Yeah.
Which I think
And back to
that's
your example, like Metal Gear Solid 5 had a similar thing with the chicken hat. I don't know if you remember that. But
oh yeah.
Metal Gear Solid 5, if you like
But that game has
the game
assists too.
yeah, it does.
It has a slow
It
mo
has
thing when you get caught.
yeah. You can turn that off whenever you want. You can turn the chicken hat on and off whenever you want. Like
Yeah. Um yeah, I just feel like there's the reasons I've heard like you'd never add difficulty options is, I think, a worse argument than all games should have difficulty options.
yeah.
I feel
I
like you
think
just
my
can't.
problem is that like difficulty is such like a what's I'm looking for?
It's like a
It's a
scale.
it's a scale, but it's also like a specific like arbitrary, specific to a person thing. Like again, like what someone finds difficult could be different from what someone else finds difficult. And is it the whole game or is it like one part of a game? Like I'm sure there's plenty of people who play the game and it's like, oh, the game's great except for this one part. Like
Yeah.
you know, like you need a difficulty slider that locks you. Well, I guess if you turn the slider on and off like throughout the game, it doesn't matter. Like so yeah, like that makes sense. Like just give me the option. You know, have it out of the box default. This is how we intended, but if you want to tweak some shit, like here's an option to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, that was something I didn't think about. The ideally, all games should have like a dynamic difficulty thing where not only do the numbers just go up and down based on how well it thinks you're doing, but it should like make the AI better if you're doing good, or like if you're doing really good, maybe there's more enemies that spawn, or the enemies get new tactics. Maybe they like block and parry more often if you're doing really well. And then if you're doing poorly, it'll spawn less enemies, or maybe they'll block less. You know, like I feel like there's ways to do shit that no one is really doing, but I feel like there's like ways to solve the difficulty problem more than just here's more or less numbers. You know, like Left 4 Dead style of shit.
Yeah, ideally that's how everything should work, but you know, some games aren't built for that. Like
Yeah.
Devil May Cry is a great example. Like Devil May Cry is like a level-based like action game. You choose difficulty, choose your level, and you're locked into that till the end of the level until you quit. So having it adjust dynamically, well, no, because God Hand did that, didn't it? Like if you did super well, your difficulty went up, but if you're doing super shitty, your difficulty went down, and your difficulty directly affected like the score you got at the end of the level. So actually, no, like you could make that work for Devil May Cry too.
Yeah, I think God Hand did have difficulty selection, but it was more like you select the difficulty for the whole game, not just like per level.
So Devil May Cry has. I was a little off on that. Hey, bud, can you like not do that? So you did pick the difficulty for the whole game, but you had to have to play the difficulty on that level. You had to like have beaten in the previous level. So like I can't go to the last level on hard and play that. I got to play through the whole game on hard and lead up to it. But with that, like, what makes that interesting is your stuff carries over too. Like, you don't unlock like the crazy difficulty so you beat the game, but by that point the game expects you to like have those upgrades, those level ups, those new skills, those weapons when you start those difficulties up. That's the intention. So this goes back to like artist's intent. Like if those difficulties were there from the beginning, like you'd have a hard time. But again, it'd be up to you to like decide, you know, if I'm gonna try that or not. I don't know. Like you're right. Like it's a roundabout way of saying you're right. Like the option should be there, and you can have like even now, like most games will have like a difficulty selection, and the game will show you like this is what we intended the game to be played at.
Yeah.
So
like I feel like the argument of, well, not everything needs to be for you. It's like true, not everything needs to be for you. But I feel like the difficulty is just an easy, like that's an easy thing where something can be for someone if you just add a difficulty, like that shouldn't be the barrier. Or it could be for more people if the option was there at least. Or like a lot of people are afraid of fucking spiders, so there's just games that people just can't play because there's a fucking spider in it somewhere. So I know there's a lot of Skyrim mods that just mod out the spiders. It turns the spiders into just other enemies, and like now it's a game that other people can enjoy because the spiders aren't in there anymore. Like it's shit like that where it's like an easily solvable thing that, you know, maybe you don't like open world RPGs, but you know, if that's the issue you have, then you just don't play that game, I guess. You know, that one's not an easy fix. But if there's a button I can hit that turns the spiders off, then yeah, all of a sudden, yeah, I can play this.
Yeah. And that's something that we've already seen, like with accessibility options. Like, you know, we were talking about Spider-Man, how it had all its own accessibility options, and it had stuff like, oh, automatically win QuickTime events because some people just don't have like the not dexterity, but they could have like a muscular issue where they can't like rapidly press a button. So there's options to like, oh, you can get by if you hold the button, or we'll just pass it for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's difficulty is something that's like difficult. That wasn't meant to be a pun, but difficulty is something that's like hard to figure out because again, how arbitrary it is. But you're right, just having the option to just, you know, turn this on, turn this off, make this harder, make this easier, do more damage, take less damage, like that's something I can get behind. Like just have the option there for people who need it. Yeah. I can see to that. Again, it comes to a point though, you have to decide like when's the game just not for you. One example I had to give, this isn't difficulty, it's a little off topic, but when Halo Infinite was coming out, one thing I saw a fucking lot on the Halo subreddit was people talking about like, oh, we're not gonna have this in the game, we're not gonna have that in the game. You should have a slider or a toggle for it. And they want a toggle for like everything. Like, at what point do you just decide like maybe this game's not for me? Like,
yeah,
there's I don't like that. I liked how in Halo 3 I could see my weapons on me, and this guy's like, well, I liked how in Halo 1 you couldn't see the weapons that were on you. Maybe we should have a toggle for that. Like, why even bother? I don't know. It's something I go back and forth on.
There are a lot of FPS games that do have that as an option. Like, there's some FPS games that I think Doom does this, where you can change what hand, or like you can change the position of the weapon. So if he's like right-handed or left-handed, or if it just comes out the middle of his fucking chest, you can do that. Or you can like make I know Unreal Tournament has options to just like make the model smaller, so it takes up less of the screen. I know there's games that do have options for that kind of shit. So,
well, that was like one example. Like, I'm trying to remember like everything. Like, it was so long ago, but there was like every other thread was like, I don't like this thing, and then the solution was toggle. Like,
but yeah, so that was the thing about No Rest for the Wicked, is that people who don't like the durability system just straight up was like, just add a fucking toggle for people who don't want it, and then we can just turn it off. But it's such a core gameplay mechanic like that. Like, yeah, maybe the durability thing should be tweakable at some point, but it's such a core gameplay. Like, it doesn't punish you in any other way. It's just that. But I feel like the mechanic is fine. They just need to tweak it better. I feel like people's wanting to remove it is a little unfounded.
And that's what I mean. Like, there's a point where like intent does need to supersede like what the players want. Like, another great example. I just came up. I can't believe it was this on to realize it. A lot of people complain about like fighting games having like inputs and stuff. One game that had a solution to that, but did it badly. Ironically, Street Fighter 4 on the 3DS, because the game let you hotkey commands to the touchscreen.
Oh yeah.
And it lets you pick whatever you want. So if you want to do like an ultra combo, you can put that on the touchscreen. So you don't have to do double quarter circle, light, medium, heavy punch. You just push that button and it does it. The problem with that, with characters like Guile, who is a charge character, who has very powerful specials, but they're nerfed by the charging, right? Like, you have to hold down for a second and then hit up to do his flash kick, or hold back for a second and hit forward to do a sonic boom. Those abilities were very effective and strong and got priority because you had to charge them first.
Yeah.
By adding that as a button, you completely broke those characters now.
Yeah.
You can have a forward advancing Guile who's unloading sonic booms on you. which doesn't sound like you're probably like, what the fuck does that even mean? It means it's bad, is what it means. That's a very fucking bad thing to be doing.
Yeah.
Or an Akuma that can just launch out a raging demon without having to do any inputs first. Akuma's most like noticeable like ultra is his raging demon. You know, you've seen it. He like grabs you, the screen turns black, and then all these hits come up, and then he's like, oh, he did all this damage in the dark. Like, there's a whole thing to that. It's like light punch, forward, light kick, medium kick, heavy punch, I think. And a part of that is I get to build up to that because it's so effective. Now you just push a button and do that whenever. You can do that shit from the air now, which is fucking terrifying. So yeah, that's an example of like a game that did that badly, but trying to make it more accessible. They defeated a lot of the mechanics,
Yeah.
and a lot of the developer intent with how these characters were meant to be played, and kind of broke the balance of the game for it. And you could argue like, well, no one's playing it on the 3DS. No, but again, like that's an idea of how like developer intent maybe should supersede, you know, fan expectation. Not even fan expectation, but player expectation, probably a better term. Then you could argue, well, they fixed their Street Fighter 6 though, and they did, but
Yeah,
that's an example of like how it could go bad. Like,
yeah, it could definitely be like a poor implementation of something too.
yeah, like they fixed it in Street Fighter 6. Like Street Fighter 6 has a system now for like auto combos and
Yeah.
stuff to help you get into it. But I'll argue Street Fighter 6 uses it as like a like how you said, like training wheels. Like the intent is like you're gonna use this to learn it, and then you're gonna turn it off later when you get better.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where the stuff gets tricky. Like,
Yeah. So
that's where the stuff gets tricky, though.
This, I don't know. This sparked me because of, well, that game, and also well, Wicked, but also Some Ordinary Gamers was just I don't know. He's bringing up some points where I was like, I don't know if I. But then he was like, I invite you to debate me on this, or like, I want a discussion. He will never talk to us, but I don't know. I feel like I got some good rebuttals to the things he brought up there. So I would,
Yeah, honestly, like you could argue either option, but at the end of the day, it's like, what harm does it really cause being an option? Yeah.
It's harder to argue that, like Uncle Dolph was saying in the chat, gatekeep games. I feel like it's hard to argue that in favor of that. But
yeah. And again, at what point do you like? How can I say this? At what point we got like difficulty and like accessibility sliders like kind of intertwined in the same conversation, or like toggles in the same conversation? At what point does like, again, like, is it okay to just be like, no, fuck you, this is how I intended the game to be, this is what we're gonna do? Like, I don't remember what the fucking game was. I think it was Chivalry or Mountain Blade. Some like, it was supposed to be some hardcore like medieval warfare simulator. There's a lot of shit on that game because the developers had like people of color and women as playable characters in the game.
that
like
was
options you could select.
I think it was Kingdom Come Deliverance.
Yeah, and then like people were like, "Oh, I hate this because it fucks with like my historical accuracy," and they wanted to toggle to like turn off black people and women. Like, at what point do you just be like, "No, fuck you"? Like that's a point for sure, but. Like, I want to be like this, like, alarmist, like, oh, if, like, it's a slippery slope till we're taking black people out of games. I'm not saying that. But, you know, you could argue at the same time, like, not everything needs a toggle. You know, at some point there is an argument to make that, no, developer intention supersedes, like, player expectation or player comfortability to an extent. It's not all or nothing. Not everything needs a toggle. Not everything needs a difficulty slider, but also you can't just like completely gatekeep games either. Like there's a middle ground there, I think, that could be found.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a good point.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I'm not trying to be this like alarmist, like It's a slippery slope for taking black people out of games. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying is that there are arguments to make. Again, developer intention supersedes like what fans want or what players want.
Yeah,
but
I'm talking
I will
more.
also
I'm
argue.
talking more like difficulty, though. I mean,
Yeah.
like the black people don't affect the difficulty of the game. At least you would hope not.
At least you hope not.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm trying to say though is like there is a point where again it's the third time I've said this, but I sound like a broken record. But I'm trying to like watch my son while I'm like talking here, and it's hard to do both things.
Yeah.
There is a point, like I said, in that example where like developer intent is more important than like what fans want and what players want. But I'll also argue you can't use that argument for everything. Like
Yeah.
I will argue too, like what you said, the core of like Elden Ring won't be harmed by putting a difficulty selection. Because people are gonna gatekeep either way. Like you can have people who beat Elden Ring and say, "Oh, I beat Elden Ring." And say, "Oh, did you use like summons? You didn't really beat Elden Ring then." Like, it's gonna happen. So it's gonna be the same thing. Oh, I beat Elden Ring. Oh, did you put out easy? You never really beat Elden Ring then. Like it's gonna happen either way. So.
But that's like no one should fucking care about that. Like
no
if it's really important, they'll put like achievements, and then they'll gate off certain achievements if you play with certain assists on. You know, like those games already do that. Like if you turn on like, hey, you gotta complete the game on hard mode or complete the game without, like they'll add specific achievements if that's what they really want you to do. Just gate the achievement, then you can prove you actually did it by having the achievement.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. Like, it comes to a point where, like, the gatekeeping. At what point are you arguing against, like, developer intent? Just arguing for gatekeeping too. Like,
you know what? It would be interesting to have a black people toggle. Like that would be interesting. I don't know if I would. I don't know if I would be totally against that if they were like. If it was just like an accessibility option and it was like black people toggle or like Mexican toggle, it would be interesting in terms of accessibility. If there are people out there who's like, I can't play games with Mexicans in it, and just like you just have toggles, like here you
go. You joke, but there are people out there who are like, "That's what I've been saying, though."
See, he gets it.
Yeah, you joke with other people like, see, he gets it. He's black, so like, I'm gonna use this argument for everything, even though I don't like black people.
Yeah.
Like, but no, jokes aside, like, people are gonna gatekeep either way. So, if it affects your personal enjoyment, like, who gives a shit? Like, unless your personal enjoyment is like taking minorities out of games, you can go fuck yourself. Like, there's that issue with like Spider-Man 2 or the first Spider-Man, where people were like releasing mods to take out like the pride flags that you can find throughout the game.
Yeah,
stuff like that. Like, you can go fuck yourself. Like, but if it's stuff like I want an easy mode that like does the quick time events for me, or makes the puzzles easier, or makes the combat easier, stuff like that.
I don't have a problem with the. This is gonna sound bad, but if there's a guy out there that's like, hey, I'm transphobic, so I made a mod that removes all the pride flags, I'd be like, that's like they have the right to be able to do that.
I will argue that arachnophobia and transphobia are like different.
They're different. Well, yeah, they're different. Yeah. Obviously, they're different. Yeah. But I would. The guy that wants to remove the pride flags, I'm like, yeah, he can do that. He can do that.
He can do that, but at the same time, like, if Nexus doesn't want to hold that mod, like, that's on them too.
That's right. They'll have to find a place that allows them to host it. Or maybe he just puts it on his Patreon and then finds some audience there that's like, I wouldn't support it, but I'd be like, he has the right. Like, he has the right to do it, so.
That's what drives me nuts. Like, people argue, like, I have the right to do it. Like, yeah, but other people have a right too, though.
To fuck you for it. Yeah.
Yeah, like Nexus mods can decide that they don't want to host that mod. If you put it up on Patreon, Insomniac can be like, hey, we don't want you making money off of our product by hosting this mod that we don't support.
Yeah.
If you put it online, people you have the right to like share it. People also have the right to like rip on you for it.
Yeah.
So so yeah, I'll concede that like options should be there for people who find games too difficult, certain aspects of games too difficult, and people who are complaining like to an extent. People who complain that's how the developer intended are just like trying to gatekeep their hobby. Which, do you really want to do that? Like at the end of the day, do you want like less people to get into gaming? Like really?
Yeah, if I
Is
like
that what we
really,
want?
if I enjoyed if like Elden Ring was my favorite game of all time, and I heard that they were adding some difficulty sliders or something, I'd be like, hell yeah, and more people can enjoy the thing that I enjoy. Maybe for like different reasons. There's a ton of reasons to enjoy Elden Ring that don't have to do with how fucking hard it is.
Another example, Neo is like Neo 2 is a great game. That's a fantastic combat system, fantastic customization and build options. But I'll argue it's handicapped by like how like stressful and how unforgiving the game can be.
Yeah.
Like if you fuck up, the game sets you back so far and so often. It's insane, like how difficult that game can be sometimes. And it's coming from someone who like, and I've played games for a long time. I've beaten some like difficult games. I understand there's like lean back games and lean forward games, but I love a lot of things about Neo 2 except the difficulty. But yeah, that's a good conversation. That's a good topic.
Yeah. I just wanted to if some ordinary gamers, if Mutahar wants to like debate this, yeah, I'm down, man. I feel like I can defend this position, but it's a little harder to defend the other position, I feel like. But yeah,
I'll agree too. Like, and there's a middle ground too. Like I said, it's not like 100%. Every game needs to add sliders and toggles and options for everything.
That's not even
but
what
it's
my
also
argument is.
Yeah,
I
but
just
there's
feel
also
like I just feel like there's no good reason not to. Like for any, if they didn't, and you had to defend, why don't you have an easy mode? I feel like whatever excuse they have for not having an easy mode is not going to be a good one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, what if you're like a small indie dev, right? And you make a specific game, and I don't have the resources to like really put effort into a difficulty slider. Like, I could just do the easy thing and just like toggle like damage or toggle certain values, but that's not going to create the game I want.
But that's all you need though, because again, it's just an option. So if you just had a button in there and I was like, hey, this is gonna tweak the numbers, this is gonna offset the numbers by 10%, and I feel like that's all you need. I've not made any video games, but I've made Skyrim mods before. And at least in that game, it's easy to do that. Something like that. Just offset the numbers with like a little button. So
yeah, no, that makes sense. Like you're right. There's not a lot of arguments like against it. I mean, you can have a position against it, but it's not a strong position. There's a lot of holes in that logic. There's holes in both logic, but there's more so holes in like the gatekeeping aspect of it. Like if your argument is developer intent, which is why not everything needs to have a easy mode, like there's a lot more ways to pick that apart.
And then if we're talking Elden Ring specifically, this game is already fucking horribly imbalanced to the point where like it's open world, and so you can potentially go to a place that you're under level for, but if you beat your head against it enough, you can conquer it, and then you fucking level up so much that by the time you go to the point where you were actually supposed to be, you'll be over leveled for that. So like this game would benefit from like some sort of difficulty scaling in a way that if you were OP for an area you should have been, you could like make it harder for yourself. Or I don't know. Like this game is horribly imbalanced, which is a point that no one wants to talk about. Everyone wants to talk about how perfect this game is, but I do not like Elden Ring. I do not.
I'll
like
even
it.
argue it's the other way around too. Like, again, you see all kinds of people who are like, "Oh, I beat Elden Ring." Oh, do you summons though? You didn't really beat it. Like, people even argue like there are certain like mechanics that are like imbalanced in the opposite direction. Like, oh, this one thing like breaks the game. This thing makes the game too easy, and it's like. It's just noise now. Like, who gives a shit? Like, as long did you play through the game? Cool. Did you beat it? Doesn't matter. Did you like it? Awesome. That's all that matters. If you enjoyed your experience.
Uncle Dolph says I'm bad at Elden Ring, which might be true. I will never know how bad or how good I am at it because I have no way of telling whether the level of difficulty I'm experiencing is appropriate. Or if I just go somewhere else, because it being a fucking Souls game, I know it's supposed to be difficult. So I'm like, okay, is this like that's the problem with Elden Ring is that it's supposed to be difficult, but you don't know if it's appropriately difficult. So you'll wander into an area, it being open world. It's open world, so you can wander into an area that's like supposed to be level 100, and you're like, oh fuck, this is difficult. But it's a Souls game, so I'm just gonna fucking spend 30 hours trying to beat it, not knowing that you're not supposed to be there. Like, it's fucked. It's fucked. Anyway. That's besides the point. That's like Elden Ring specific shit.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. There's more arguments like to have an easy mode. The position to have an easy mode is better to defend than like not having one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, good discussion. But yeah, I've been converted. I used to be in the camp of like, no, sole developer intention, but now I'm like, let's put a fucking slider on there for certain things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. If anybody has any opinions on it, let us know in the chat. Anyone has any
yeah,
if you guys have a take that we didn't hear, like if you have a good argument, like why there should be like a minority slider in video games, like let's hear it.
That was an interesting one. I will say, jokes aside, that would be an interesting. That's an interesting option. That's an interesting angle that I didn't think about.
Yeah, it's funny because like you think I'm being hyperbolic, but it's a thing people like wanted. Like it's not like
no, I remember that.
It's like I'm making this up. It's a thing people wanted. I can't remember the developer did it and then took it away when they got the backlash, or if they were just like, "No, fuck you, this is stupid."
No,
but
I bet they did not. But it would be interesting. It would be interesting if they were like, "Yeah, we'll just we'll let you turn the minorities off," or it would be an interesting thing.
Yeah. Ah, man. So game releases. April 25th. We got Assault Suit Leynos 2 Saturn Tribute. Long fucking name. Coming out on everything. PC, Switch, PS4, Xbox One.
I think that's an old NES game. Am I?
Yeah.
I don't know about that. It's an old game.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I think it was NES. It's crazy that they're making another one of these because I played that game. It's pretty interesting. The classic.
Yeah, I don't know. If it is, I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
To be totally honest. There are some there is one cool game though that's coming out that I don't think anyone's ever talked about. Another Crab's Treasure. You heard of this one?
Yeah. I heard it's all right. I heard it's like a it's like a Souls game, but it's like
it's a Souls-like. It's like a cutesy Souls-like.
Yeah.
Dude, could you not? Oh my God, he's trying to take my Switch out. Stop doing that. Hey, get away from that. No. I'm trying to like baby-proof my house so he can't like pull everything out, but it's like I don't know what he can get into until he gets into it.
Yeah,
So,
there's always something you didn't think about. It's like, oh.
yeah, always. Always. And he gets mad at me. He's like mad at me. Like how dare you like take that expensive game system away from me?
Uncle Dolph said Michael Reeves is in this. I don't know who that is from
I
YouTube.
don't know who that is either. Should I know who that is? Like, who the hell is Michael Reeves?
He said he's from YouTube, so you should not know who that is.
YouTube is so interesting to me because you can have like an audience of like millions of people. You know, you can have like Super Bowl levels of people like watching you,
Yeah.
but then there's like billions of people who have no fucking clue who you are.
Yeah, but I would argue it's the same with like any, well, not any, but like most quote unquote celebrities. There's a lot of like athletes, especially around here because I live like in the Denver area. Like there's always someone from the fucking Denver football team that I don't know. I don't fuck with sports at all. So there's always
Me
some
neither.
athlete. There's always some athlete out here that is just out here, and I like never recognize.
Dude,
Which
like
they probably like. They probably like that people don't recognize them. But
there's this dude I went to high school with. I don't even know what he's doing right now. I can't remember his fucking name, but he was like a huge deal in high school. He was like, a huge like football player, like a really good football player. Like he was in Sports Illustrated. Like, he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. As like this big up and coming like high school football star. To this day, I don't remember his fucking name. I just don't. I don't remember his name. He was like a huge deal when I was in school, and I guess in that sphere, if you were like a huge like football fan and you're paying attention, if you're part of a group that like one liked football and then cared about like high school football, you know, like, he was a huge deal. But outside of
yeah,
that circle, no one knew who the fuck he was. I don't even think anyone knew who he was outside of Arizona, despite him being on like a nationally like available magazine.
yeah,
And to this day, I don't remember his fucking name. I remember the rumors about him in high school more than like his actual fucking name or what he did.
yeah. Well, there's definitely YouTubers that
Yeah.
that if I saw them in real life, I'd be like, oh shit, it's fucking like Harry Mack is one. Like he's a big like freestyle rapper. He's probably like the greatest freestyle rapper of all time, right? And if I saw him, I'd be like, oh shit, it's fucking Harry Mack. But I feel like if like 90% of other people saw him, they have no clue that he's even anyone.
Yeah, dude. Like, it's funny you mentioned that because I had a similar experience when I was still working at Best Buy. What the fuck was his fucking name? Hold on. This guy came into the store. He used to work on crack. I can't remember his fucking name. Hold on one second. I think it was like Michael. No, I don't remember his fucking name.
Michael
But he was
Reeves?
on crack. No, I can't remember his name. But he used to work on crack like way back in the day. Because we remember crack. And I would watch a lot of stuff that he was in, and he came into the store one day. I was like, "Holy shit, I don't remember his fucking name. Like, that's how like long ago this was." Holy fuck, that's so and so, and everyone's like, "Who?" Like it's funny to me to see that like someone who could like be a big deal in one circle have like zero pull or attention in another one.
Yeah.
But yeah. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, game releases. Yeah, Crab Story. Another Crab Treasure. Looks really cool. Megatron Musashi Wired. That's a cool name. What kind of game is that? Ooh, it's an
It was a
action
mech.
RPG, a mecha
Oh, this looks
action
like that
RPG.
Gundam game. This looks like Gundam Fighter, not Gundam Fighter. Maybe that is what it's called. It was like a Gundam Dynasty Warriors.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I think it was like literally called like Gundam Warriors or Dynasty Warriors Gundam.
Yeah, this is a mecha action RPG with crossplay and cross save.
I looked it up. The game's literally just called Dynasty Warriors Gundam.
Okay.
Hey,
Interesting.
Junior, what are you doing, kid? Oh my god, this kid. Hey! He doesn't listen to me. He's like 1.5. Why the fuck would he listen to me?
This is a 50-hour game, and it's all in Japanese.
I mean, the Yakuza games are like all in Japanese, right? And those are like 30, 40 hours.
Yeah, but even the title is in Japanese. I'll throw that in the wish list.
Yeah, check it out. It looks pretty cool. Saga Emerald Beyond is also coming out April 25th for everything. April 26th, we got Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, Sweep the Board. It's a fucking Demon Slayer board game.
Wow.
I never thought I would see this. It's something I never would have like imagined, but here it is. If you want to play a Demon Slayer board game on your console, here it is.
Finally.
Like Mario Party with Demon Slayer.
That is interesting.
Yeah, look at it. It's what it is. It's Mario Party with Demon Slayer.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, I don't think it's like I don't know. I don't watch Demon Slayer. I watched a bit of it. It's okay. I didn't know there's a lot of overlap between like people who like Mario Party style games and people who like Demon Slayer.
Yeah.
And people on the Switch. This is only on Switch too, so I didn't know there was that kind of audience for this, but here we are.
I mean, I'm glad it's not another fucking arena fighter, so
yeah.
At least they're doing something different.
I mean, does it matter? I'm not going to play either one. Oh yeah, that's the thing. Manor Lords on PC. Sandland is coming out on everything now.
I will be
PC,
playing that.
PS4, PS5, Series X. Yeah?
I will be playing
Your opinion
that.
changed as a demo?
Well, no. I just think it was a bad demo. The game is probably okay. Is my thought process there.
Yeah.
Like, I think the demo was terrible, but I think the game might actually be good.
Dude. Junior. The kid doesn't care. He doesn't react to me. No, Sandlands looks good. I still haven't played the demo yet, but it looks cool. Stellar Blade. That's that game that like looks like that wants to be near so fucking bad. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, this game wants to be near Automata so bad. Like it's
and it has booby ladies. Actually, the guy that made Nier, they like got together and was like, yeah, I don't know. They got together with each other for something. I don't know. They were like sharing pictures on Twitter or something.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, Yoko Taro praised it, yeah. You know, they both like booby ladies, so they have a lot in common.
Yeah. I mean that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
Yoko Taro likes women.
Yeah.
This guy apparently likes women, so a lot to talk about there.
Does the PlayStation Store page not have like screenshots and video trailers on their pages? How are you supposed to make a purchasing decision?
The booby lady. That's how you make the purchasing decision.
That's all
like,
you need
why
to
you even
know.
ask?
This game has boobs.
I like when you say booby lady, but she's not like that. Like she's built like Bayonetta. Like she doesn't have like massive boobs, but she's like really tall and slim. She got like a model figure, but she's not like.
But for some reason, this game gets more. It's more controversial than any other game that has booby ladies.
Which again, it's funny because she's not really a booby lady. She's just like again, she's built like Bayonetta. Like.
Yeah.
Is there controversy with this game? I didn't know there was controversy.
Oh yeah. So much so that people had to go to IGN France to dig up controversy about it. Because IGN France put out a thing that was like the main character's design could only be designed by someone who's never seen a woman before. And that was IGN France that said that, and then people got fucking upset about that. Like people were just trying to find fucking something to get upset about this game.
Oh shit! I guess there's some controversy in the game having a hard R.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's a okay, so the shop in the game is called R's shop, and so there's like signs for that are scattered
Yeah.
around the world, and there's also like there's a random graffiti tag that just says hard. So there's like a spot in the game where those two assets just combine in a way that it says hard R, and people were like, "Hey, what's up with this?" and then they removed it, but I think it's funnier to just leave that in. I think it's
I think it's
funnier to just
funnier
leave it in.
too. Just like there's another controversy, not really controversy with Back for Blood. There's a combination of like assets and grunts, and there's just one specific combination that can occur pretty frequently, where it sounds like a zombie's calling you the N word.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And apparently it wasn't intentional at all. It's just like they showed like there's different like audio files of like audio assets, and they mix just right. It can create this like
yeah,
this 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 issue where it sounds like a zombie's calling you the N word.
yeah,
But things line up for it to happen. But because of how many zombies the game throws at you, it's not like uncommon for it to happen. Um, yeah, that's like a funny thing that they had to like go in and tweak the algorithm so those two assets like never showed up next to each other again. um, this is funny though. Like, this is really funny. And the developers of this game aren't like American, right? So like, they probably wouldn't even have known like hard
yeah.
R was
Korean,
yeah, exactly. So
but no, I don't even think because they didn't like place those two. It's not like anyone even knew it was there. It was just that
yeah,
it's just like randomly placed assets that hard one was just next to the R one just
yeah,
randomly.
yeah,
Yeah.
which is hilarious. Up, you want up? You're just up, kid. He's just babbling at me. I don't know what he wants. He'll say like up, and I'll pick him up, and he's like, "No, up." And I'm like, "What? You are up, dude? Like, what do you want from me?" But there's no bottle here, dude. I love my kid. He's a goofball. I love him. I don't understand what the controversy is. It's just like, okay, here's a game that like accentuates like a female character's assets. So now there's controversy. Is that what it is?
Yeah, but also the like Uncle Dolph said in the thing, the lead artist designer is a woman themselves, so and also the character is a scan. The character itself is a scan of an actual woman, so it's not even like like they're like wrong for saying anything on both sides because it's an actual woman they scanned. And it's an actual woman who designed her. So
See that's what I mean. Like, at what point does obviously like you could argue this game's made for like the male gaze or whatever, but at what point do we decide like, hey, who cares? I remember like when Devil May Cry 3 came out. What's another thing? Like, there's a whole other thing I want to talk to you about that, but that's like another day. Dante's like whole outfit was him with like a shirt off. He was the whole game like shirtless,
yeah,
and people could argue like, well, it's different. Like his body's supposed to represent like power and like dominance over like enemies. So why can't like women do that? You know what I mean? Like Bayonetta's a perfect example. Like it's very much built for like, this is a very attractive character, the very attractive body, but the character is very powerful, center of the story. It's not like alluring at anything. She's like controlling how her sexuality is presented. She has control of it throughout the whole game.
yeah,
So like, how is that a problem? And same with this. I haven't seen anything here that's like objective. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
if the character had been like, if the character was forced to like get sexualized, that's like different. If it's like an anime trope of like, oh, our uniforms are too small and don't look at my underwear, like that's creepy to me. You know what I mean? It's like if someone doesn't want to be like weird at sexualized, but it's happening, versus someone who's like up there owning it, like how is that a problem?
yeah.
You could
Yeah,
argue it's like objectifying, but it's also like a power fantasy type of thing. Like,
I think it's just people
uh,
just projecting their shit
yeah, just their
because I
own like
mean,
insecurities onto it, and
yeah, because yeah, that IGN article was completely baseless in everything it was saying, completely uninformed in everything it was saying. So it was just like, yeah, you're just like projecting your own fucking insecurities onto this thing that has none of the things you're saying about it. So
yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it's such a weird thing to like get upset about, especially since like games have been doing shit like this for like ever. Um, and you could argue like some games, like Dragon's Crown, for example, has very unrealistic like proportions and stuff. But it's a fantasy. Like the game does it on purpose. Like no one has realistic proportions. Like
yeah,
I don't know. It seems weird to me to like to find stuff to like mull over and argue over. Um, I don't know. Also, this comes from like my opinion as a straight like hetero man. Like maybe like my opinion skewed a little bit, but I don't know. I don't see the problem in it when like other games can do that for like men, for example. The barbarian class from Diablo is a great example. There's a shirtless guy for like the first chunk of the game until you find armor and stuff. Like, but whatever. Yeah, weird controversy. That game's coming out though. I haven't heard anything about it other than like I haven't heard anything about it, whether it's good or not. Have you heard anything about it, whether it's good?
the reviews are out. It says that it's pretty good. So
Yeah. G-Man Lives did a review on it, and I like his shit, so I'll probably watch after the show. Again, it rips off Nier like really hard, but I like Nier, so
yeah,
I don't mind. Um, Also coming out April 26th, TopSpin 2K25. It's coming out on everything. So if you got to get that TopSpin fix. Like here it is. You've been waiting so long for this.
I feel like it's
You've been
been
waiting
a
since
while.
TopSpin 2K24.
Well, I don't know if there was a 24. I don't know. I feel like TopSpin's
I don't know
been.
either. I have no clue. I have zero clue.
Yeah, the
Zero
headline
clue.
says the TopSpin franchise returns with TopSpin 2K25. I feel like it's been
What
gone
is
for a
Top?
while.
Like a tennis game? Like what is it?
Yeah. Tennis.
I was gonna say I think TopSpin is like a tennis term, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. I
good
would
on
have
them.
said
Like it.
either. I would have said either tennis or
Yeah.
golf, but yeah.
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 Oh, there we go. Long-awaited TopSpin revival is here.
I think my friend
To
Lurky
go.
is into TopSpin.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder what he thinks about it. Ask your friend what he thinks about it when it comes out.
About this one, well, I don't know if she's gonna play it, but it's not
Well,
on
if your
the wish
friend's like
list.
into that, why wouldn't she like buy like the most recent one if it's been like this long?
I don't know. I just know she's played a lot of them in the past.
Yeah. Have her on the show talk about it. You can have a TopSpin segment. See what the hype is around it. Why people are still playing this game. When did the last TopSpin game come out? Because it's like
It's a good
it was
question.
like a long time ago. Hold on, derailed,
Steam.
but
2K25 is the only one on Steam, so I'll say it's been a while, at least on PC.
TopSpin is a simulation tennis game. Blah 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 blah. There's a TopSpin 2. I can't just find a page of like when these games came out.
Go to like Wikipedia.
Okay, I give up. I don't care. Yeah, I'm on Wikipedia. There's not like a franchise page for it.
Wait, there's reviews for this already.
I'm sure people got like review copies.
No, I mean on Steam.
I'm sure people got some review copies. You can still review a game that hasn't come out on Steam, can't you?
I don't
as long as
think
you like
so.
actually have like a code. I think as long as it's like actually in your library from like as a review copy or something, you can still review them, can't you?
No, this has to be a bug. This has to be a bug. No, you're not allowed to put shit on Steam until like the release date comes, or
Really?
it's like in early access.
Huh.
Like even at like Starfield was out. Like Starfield and what was that? Suicide Squad. Like they had those like early release periods. You still can put a review up. But
You're right.
They put them up yesterday somehow. Seems like it's mid. So I gotta take a shit.
All right, let's wrap this up then.
No,
and last but not least,
it says pre-release review, but there's no what pre-release was there? Is that you can't typically you're not allowed to do it at. Typically you're not allowed. Oh, I see. Advanced access. I see. Typically they haven't allowed to do that. Oh, you know what? I know they updated their terms. This was a thing that just happened on Steam. They updated their terms of service. So now you can, before you couldn't refund a game, or before you could refund a game when it was in pre-release. So like those previous examples of Starfield and Suicide Squad.
Oh yeah.
You could refund it. You could refund it. Like you could play it the entire pre-release and then still refund it. So that's probably what they just updated. So now you can.
I remember that. Yeah. I remember you can buy it. You can get a game like early from like a special adopter like edition.
Yeah.
Play it for like 100 hours, and that's what is the time limit? Like 2 hours. That 2 hour time frame doesn't start till like after the game's released.
Yeah. So that's probably they just updated that. So now probably with that you can also review the game. It's probably that's a good change. I'm in favor of that.
That's a good change. Yeah, I'm in favor of it too. All right, let's wrap this up. I gotta get my kid dressed and like feed him again.
Yeah.
Last but not least, April 30th, we have Sea of Thieves coming out on PlayStation 5. Nobody saw that coming. Just kidding. Microsoft announced that forever ago.
That's gonna be big for them. It's gonna be big for them.
It's gonna be big. Yeah, it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
And it supports crossplay too, so it's just gonna help the ecosystem even more. So
right now,
we'll see when that comes out.
Only on Steam, there are 15,000 people playing on Steam right now. Just Steam.
Jesus. That was loud. Is that an airplane?
Yeah, that's... There's a war outside right now, so...
All right, well, that's going to do it for the show, everybody. Thank you so much for listening on us talk about games for 2.5 hours. We love you guys. We love seeing you. Tell people where they can find us.
Guys, you can go to Gameoverse.com, Gameoverse.com/Twitch, Gameoverse.com/YouTube, Gameoverse.com/Discord. Hop in that Discord. Tell us what you think about difficulty in video games. Should there be options? Should there be options?
And if no, why not? Let's hear it.
I want arguments as to why I'm wrong. But
yeah, me too.
Because I want to be wrong. I want to. The points you brought up about the Mexican options were I mean it's a bad reason, but it's one I haven't thought of. But
all right, everybody. Everyone, be cool, be safe, listen to each other, and we'll see you all next week. Bye bye.